Hi, Saucy J here at Keeping It Simple TV, back with another Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 11, Episode 2. And if I'm good, maybe I can squeeze in 3 because I don't want to keep these long and I owe you guys. You know what? I'm just going to do 2. Then I'll come back and film review 3 because it's a lot. It's a lot going on. So just bear with me, you guys. I got my fan going. It's summertime. It's hot. You know, this looks pretty good. Just joking. But Beyonce, watch out. Anywho, so if you're new here, welcome. I love reviewing the Real Housewives and anything that's going on in today, like hot topics, gossip, things to keep everything light and airy. We got enough seriousness going on in life. This should be like a get away from your cares, your problems. Just have some fun. So if you're new here, welcome. If you have returned, welcome back. Thank you so much for stopping by again. And like I always ask the newbies, please hit the subscription button, hit the like button, and hit the notification button so you can be made aware of all my content. If you hit that like button, that'll get me out into the YouTube universe and get me in the algorithm, and it will expose my videos to a whole bunch of people, and then maybe, just maybe, I can get monetized. Wouldn't that be great? Yes, for me, yeah, it would be. On YouTube, because you know, if I make some money off of this, I can invest in editing and do a lot of fun projects, which I'm going to do anyway. It's just, you know, it's hard to work and review these videos, but I mean review these reality shows, but I really do enjoy the Real Housewives of just the Bravo brand, and I've been watching them for years. So anyway, that's enough about me. Let's get into it. So we pick up with Garcelle. She's headed to meet up with Kyle because they have some unfinished business from last year's reunion. Kyle kind of put it out there that Garcelle said she was going to donate $5,000 to her charity, and she left Kyle holding the bag. Of course, as a black woman, Garcelle is highly pissed because, come to find out, I guess when they sent her the bill, like it was a charity auction, and Garcelle raised her paddle to donate $5,000 for something. They sent it to an old address that she doesn't use anymore, and it didn't go to her man of business. So Garcelle is pissed that Kyle put it out there that she intentionally tried not to pay, and I don't believe that. Excuse me, on both sides, because I know Garcelle, no, she's very well aware she's on TV, and you got to be a person of your word when you're on TV because everybody's going to fact check. So I truly believe that Garcelle, like she said, Kyle had an old address, and it went to, the request for the money went to an old address, not her new address. And Kyle, just being messy, you know, just put it out there, hey, girl, you didn't pay. So Garcelle is putting it out there like, you know, could this be racial? Because the thing is, and I didn't know this until later on in life, the view is that black people, we don't tip, we don't pay our bills on time and all this other stuff. So Garcelle took it to heart, you know, that maybe she was trying to bust her out for being one of those black people that don't pay their bills. So anyway, on her way to meeting up with Kyle for lunch, she's talking to her good friend Sutton on the phone, and they're talking about how they're so glad that the COVID restrictions have lessened. And Sutton just the other day had got a massage, and she was just like ecstatic because, you know, we all been shut down, so you couldn't get things like massages. So, you know, Garcelle's like, yeah, girl, me too. I got a massage, and it was feeling so good. It was almost inappropriate. A joke. I thought it was funny. I kind of chuckled at it. But of course, Sutton, being the stick in the mud that she is, she didn't laugh. So it was like an awkward silence. And so Garcelle was like, no words. I'm with Garcelle. It's like, man, it's just a joke. Of course she didn't mean that. Garcelle probably had a woman giving her a massage. Who knows? It just, Sutton is a little bit, I thought she had loosened up a bit, but it looks like she's still the same, you know, stick in the mud person that she is. So then we go to Erica, and once again, the folks at Bravo are doing my girl Erica really shady. They're showing all of her clothes, all of her jewelry, because I don't know if you guys know this, Erica's husband is this famous attorney, wealthy attorney, allegedly, but we see he might not be as wealthy as they were trying to play it to be. He represented those people that crashed, it was a big airline crash where it happened in Ethiopia, and they were trying to blame it on the pilot. Come to find out, it was some type of mechanism that was in, I believe it's Boeing jets, and I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that, allegedly, but it was one of the big manufacturers, I think it was Boeing, allegedly, that was actually responsible for the crash, not the pilot. So a lot of people passed in that accident, and he represented a lot of the victims and their families and their estates. And supposedly he was stealing from those estates. And now these people are going after her husband for any and everything. And they're actively watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to kind of catalog all the stuff that Erica has. So it seems like Bravo is like, hey, we'll help you out. So they're just panning all over all her stuff. It's just crazy. And then I'm kind of thinking, Erica's too smart. You know, Erica, I'm kind of thinking, is she setting it out there, you know, because does she do that all the time? Maybe, but it really seems like it's a lot now, or maybe because we know what's going on with her husband, we're like, man, they're showing all her stuff. So I don't know. So anyway, we get to that scene where she's getting ready. She's got all her stuff out. Her personal assistants are there. Her personal stylist is there, Danny, helping her to get ready to pack for her trip to Lake Tahoe. Because when we left off, Lisa Rinna had invited all of the women to a lake house in Lake Tahoe. So she's, you know, got outfits for every day. So Sutton stops by, and they talk. I'm gonna have to look at my notes because I was so busy enjoying the show. But yeah, so Sutton freaks out at all the clothes. She can't believe it. It's like a store. And so Sutton tells Erica that she sold her family home that she had with her husband. It was, you know, I think she sold it for $7.7 million. She realized as she was looking around, she didn't really see anything she liked, so she's going to build a home. So I guess she bought this other place. Maybe she's going to tear it down partially. She bought this other house at $5 million. And then I guess she's going to use the difference and, you know, make the home into what she really wants. So that's what they talked about. Must be nice to have money. And then we finally get to the scene where Garcelle and Kyle. And, you know, Garcelle, beautiful restaurant. It was called Petit Trois, and the food looked good. So Garcelle explains to Kyle what happened. Like, you know what, the request went to the wrong address. My man of business didn't get it. But as soon as, you know, you let me know what happened, we rectified it. And so Kyle was like, yeah, I know. And I didn't know that it went to your old address, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, Garcelle just put her on Front Street and was like, did you do this because I'm black? And, you know, Kyle was like, what? Like, what? And she was like, yeah, would you have done this? Oh, she said it this way. I'm sorry. She said, would you have done this to the white women on the show? Would you have busted them out like that? Would you have said, you know, hey, you didn't? And yeah, Kyle would have done that, especially if she was mad at you. You guys have been arguing. Guess what? Yeah, she's going to put out there, regardless of what your race is, that you pissed me off. So guess what? I'm going to let everybody know that you're a liar. You're faking it. You don't have the 5,000, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Kyle would have done that for anybody. And pretty much Kyle tells her that, and she couldn't believe that, you know, Garcelle was accusing her of racism, but Garcelle explained that you can't play with black people like that, and you can't play with black women like that because of all the stereotypes that are out there about we don't pay our rent, we don't tip, so she just went through all that. And so Kyle was like, oh my God, I didn't know, I never think like that. And she was like, yeah, you don't have to. You're not black. You don't have to be worried about because once again, Garcelle brought up a good example of how she went to some restaurant back in the day in Hollywood, and the waitress or the server went out of their way to give Garcelle bad service. Like, they served other people before they served her. It took a long time for her meal to come, and it was just poor service throughout the whole meal that Garcelle knew, okay, this person doesn't want to serve me because I'm black. And even I went through that. As a family, we all were like in Massachusetts, in Martha's Vineyard, as a matter of fact. And we were all at this restaurant in Edgarstown. I can't remember the name of it. It might have been Edgarstown. And this had never happened before. This was like my second time going to Martha's Vineyard. And, you know, first time it was great. Didn't have any, I can't remember any real racist experiences. But this time, when I brought a friend back with me, it was horrible. We actually sat at a restaurant and was not, like, the girl came over, like, took our drink order and didn't come back. And we were all just sitting there, like, I don't even want to say it, maybe in 45 minutes to an hour before we realized that our orders hadn't been taken. But it was it was a huge group of us, and we were all so busy talking that nobody was really, you know, paying attention. Till finally, I think I started paying attention, like, what's going on? And then finally, like, the manager or the hostess came over, because our server just had left, and they apologized, and I think they even gave us something off on the meal. But it was like, wow, this person didn't want to serve us because it was a table full of black people. I don't know. So it does happen. And so at that point, do you tip? And that's what Garcelle's point was. Like, after that happened, if I don't tip, do they say, oh, she didn't tip because she's black? Or do you really say, no, I'm not tipping because, and I've actually done that before too. Like, I was somewhere else, and I think it was in college, and me and a friend went out for dinner or whatever, and this server was giving us a hard time. So we didn't tip, and we wrote a whole, when I think back on it, I laugh, but we were kids. I don't even think I was in college at that point. I might have been in high school. And the girl was acting crazy, and, you know, so we wrote a whole explanation as to why we're not tipping. But, you know, because the service was really bad. And we're like, you know, me personally, I don't care how you feel about black people. Look, I'm in here. My money is green just like everybody else. You know, that's your job. Sorry, if you don't want to serve black people, don't work in America. Okay, it's beyond that. So she was just telling Kyle all the stuff that black women go through, and I'm here for it. I'm glad that Garcelle is on. I'm glad she's the token black girl, even though I wish they had more. And I think we're going to get it with Crystal. I'm glad they have her on there now to bring an Asian perspective about what they go through in America. So this is great. And Kyle seemed to be really receptive of it. And I don't think that Kyle is racist. I mean, she's one of her best friends is black. I know that sounds crazy, but she's had him on the show. He's blown up. He's got like a podcast. I can't think of his name now, and he's even on E now. So, and I know that's through his hookup with her. So, you know, she was really receptive of what Garcelle had to say, and they were able to work it out and hug it out. So that was great. So then, let's see. Oh, then we pan over to Crystal's house, and she's the Asian young woman that's on the show, and I believe she is the youngest. I think she's only like 29. I don't even think she's 30, so she's the very young. She married her husband when she was like 20. I think they got married when she was 20. I know they met when she was like 20 years old, and I think he's at least 20 years older than her, maybe 25. He's more in the same age group as her co-workers, but he's very rich. He's worked on a lot of movies, a lot of animated movies that were big box office hits. So they're not hurting for money. So we go over to her beautiful 9,000 square foot home, and we meet her housekeeper. I think that's the correct term. Because we have to get it right. So we nowadays, because everybody's on this, what do they call it? PC culture. So I don't want to offend anybody. So let's just say we meet her house staff person. Her name is Lucy. And she looks like she's very interesting. She doesn't hold back. She speaks her mind, and she lets Crystal know that some of her clothes are ugly, which we're going to find out. Some other people think Crystal's clothes are ugly because basically she's 29 years old and she's dressing like a 20-year-old, and that, I mean, like a 40-year-old, I should say. She's dressing 20 years older than herself, even though the clothes she wears are sharp. Maybe that's because I'm older than her, you know, and some of it I would wear, some of it I wouldn't. It's a little too conservative, but you can look at her clothes and see it's quality and it's expensive. So yeah, so Lucy, the maid, I mean, sorry, not the maid, the housekeeper, doesn't like all of her clothes. And we also meet her brother, who's a pop star in China, and I meant to get his name and I forgot, but he got stuck over in America due to COVID, so he ended up having to live with her while the world was shut down due to the COVID pandemic. And of course we see her 2 cute kids and her husband. So we see her in her house, and we learn that she is very anal in terms of, or I should say type A, in terms of keeping everything organized, keeping everything running like a tight ship. So, and that's her thing. She loves organizing. She loves getting the calendar out. Everybody has their personal calendar that she's in control over. So that's part of being a tiger mom, I guess. And then, so now the girls are getting ready to go to Lake Tahoe. Rinna and Garcelle end up being there first, and that's because, I think it's because they both work in TV. Rinna was big on I believe the Home Shopping Network or QVC. She was on one of those channels selling a lot of clothes. So time, when people say, hey, you need to be here, you need to be there, she's good with it. She's good with time. So is Garcelle. Garcelle's been in TV, most of the time I've seen her. And so when you say show up at a certain time, that's what time she's going to get there. She may even get there 5 minutes early. So they both get there. They're first ones to show up at the private airport section, I think, where they go get the private jets. And they're in the private lounge. And so they have to make the small talk, even though, we know that they're not really getting along because Garcelle is still holding a grudge against Lisa. And she's going to deal with that later on. So they're waiting and they're just making awkward small talk, and then everybody else starts, coming in, and we get to see the fashion once again. Atlanta, you guys, you got to step up your game because the girls from Beverly Hills are bringing it. The clothes are fabulous. I mean, Erica shows up, I think, in a chinchilla crop, like a bolero fur coat. It was too sharp. I mean, luggage for days, full of, very expensive, style outfits for the trip. So they get on this small plane. We learned that we're reminded that Garcelle has a problem with small planes due to her time being a model and having to jump in small planes. And I think one didn't crash, but it was a lot of turbulence to the point that maybe they had to make an emergency landing. Anyway, she's had a problem with flying, on small jets since that time. So the flight was very, causing her some trauma and bringing back bad memories. But they land perfectly fine, and they arrived in Lake Tahoe, and they're staying at this beautiful house. It's called the Sherman Estate, and this house sits on Lake Tahoe. It's over 17,000 square feet. It's a house. And it has 17 bedrooms and 18 bathrooms. Just beautiful, just beautiful. And this is what we want to see on a Real Housewives franchise. We want to see the wealth. We want to voyeur into the lifestyles. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, I grew up watching lifestyles of the rich and famous, and it's fun. It's just interesting to see what's out there when you have money, or you playing like you have money. Like we come to find out, for a lot of these housewives, But I think in this franchise, the majority of them have money. So at least for a time, and then they get a divorce and not so much money. So they make it to the house, and they're going in, and they're trying to figure out where they're going to stay in the house, what bedrooms. You know, with all these shows, the bedroom assignment is serious business. In this case, it really is, because on the lower level, I think the house is like on like a mountainside. So it's like 3 levels. So the top floor, it looks like is the kitchen and the living, like the great room, the living room, the dining room. And then as you go down, there are bedrooms on different levels. Excuse me. There's even an indoor pool, workout room, game room, I think with 2 pool tables, just the foosball table, ice hockey table, all that. So as they're picking out the rooms, the house manager is telling the ladies that, look, on this level, if you don't keep the sliding doors closed, bears will come into your bedroom. So Garcelle is like, okay, you have said nothing but a word. Let me get my luggage. I'm going back up to the upper floor where no bears can come in. And of course, she threw race in it. She's like, you only have to tell a black girl one time, and she's out, you know. And but the bedroom that Crystal ended up taking, which was on that level where a bear may come in, her view was like perfect. You could walk right out onto the side of the mountain, and it's like a plateau, and your chairs are right there, and you're just looking off into the cliffs and into the water. I think I would have tried that room. I just would have made sure that my sliding door was locked, but you know, I don't know. I like to do crazy things sometimes. So, but then again, my other side would be like, I don't know if I want to wake up and see a bear in my room. So I don't know. It'd be a hard choice. So they all get settled in. Oh, before they get settled in, everybody's waiting for the valet or the butler or someone to come help them with their bags, because you know, these girls, they don't worry about carrying luggage. Well, as it turns out, due to the pandemic, no one's there to carry their bags. They have to bring in all their bags, and some of the girls brought like stupid luggage for like such a short trip, but they, you know, they want to show off all their beautiful clothes, whatever. So anyway, so all the women had to drag in all their heavy luggage, but you know, and then what was fascinating to me is that they had a young black female chef. So that was great. And she kind of did Kyle dirty. So let's get to it. Kyle decides she's going to cook the first meal for everybody. And she's going to cook salmon and pasta and veggies. And I'm going to have to turn that fan off because it has gotten cooler now, and this fan has gotten really strong. So Kyle decides she's gonna cook. She turns the chef, the young black chef that's there, into a sous chef. And I think the sous chef did her a little dirty because she allowed the salmon, which was beautiful before it was cooked. It looked like the perfect pink salmon. And she let it burn, you know, because I was wondering, when Kyle put the salmon in the oven for like 20 minutes, I'm like, you don't put salmon in there for 20 minutes. That cooks fast. And you have to watch it. But of course, she stepped away. And maybe she assumed that the chef was going to get it out. I think that girl did her dirty. She could have checked on the salmon for her. But anyway, so now everybody was like, oh my gosh, she ruined the salmon. And they were probably really hungry. We know Garcelle, she was hungry because she's always eating. Garcelle is like the candy on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Garcelle, no, she is not passing up no food. She's gonna eat. Now, them other women, they be playing around with the food, but not Garcelle. So, after they eat, they play a game of two, like, say, they play a really cute game where, before that at dinner, Sutton hands out these silver, I think they were silver flasks. I don't want to say they were platinum. I think they were silver flasks, and each one was personally engraved with the the other lady's initials. So she had a gift, you know, she's known for bringing and buying women expensive gifts when they're on trips. So Crystal, as usual with the shade, she's like, look, I don't know, you know, why would anybody think this is a gift? I don't use a flask. What am I use it for? But anyway, I would have loved it. I would have found some use for it. Like Kathy said, you know, she would put mouthwash in it. Who knows, you know. But anyway, I thought it was a cute idea, and it was nice, and it fits in the purse. So after they eat and stuff, they move over to the like great room, and Dorit comes up with a really cute game to play called, like, say 2 truths and 1 lie, and you have to guess. So it's like 3 things you have to say. So out of the 3, you have to say 2 truths and 1 lie, and people have to guess which one's a lie and which 2 are the truth. So Crystal, once again, she sets the bar really high. I'm liking Crystal. I'm liking her. I hope she's come back in season 2. I really do. I hope that she doesn't go off the rails, because I'm liking her. So Crystal says she was arrested. She worked at an escort agency, and someone was trying to convince her to become a madam. So all the women are sitting there like, oh my God, you know, like, so people are like, which one's the lie? Because they couldn't guess. And of course they didn't want to say, well, we know you weren't an escort. So Erica was like, let me guess, you were an operator, a phone operator at the escort agency. And she's like, yeah, she worked at an escort agency at 18 years old, and she was never arrested. So someone was trying to convince, I guess she was so good at taking phone calls and telling the girls where to go, what to do, and keeping everything straight, that they wanted her to become a madam. And she was like, no. She said she just did it for a summer, and it was an interesting summer. She learned a lot. And I guess so, because she ended up landing a rich husband. I wonder if he was a client. And anyway, because she married him when she was like 20. I don't know. Maybe she met him there. Who knows? And then Sutton, hers was pretty good too. Sutton says she worked at a Starbucks as a barista, and if you watch the show, you'll see why it was good. She stole something, and she was a virgin when she was married. So everybody's like, well, we know you didn't work at Starbucks. And she was like, oh, yes, she did. You know, she did work at Starbucks, you know. And she said she was no virgin when she got married. So everybody's like, oh, okay. So I think this is a cute little game, and it kept things light. So of course you had a couple of people that messed the game up. Namely, I would say Erica, Kathy, we'll get to Kathy. So Erica says when it gets to her, she wore a wire, was a witness in a government case, and she was adopted. So everybody's like, you weren't adopted. So they're thinking like, oh my God, you wore a wire, you're a witness in a government case? And she said all 3 were true, but she couldn't tell them like about the wearing a wire and being a witness in as it turns out, a mafia case. I'm like, I think Erica is leaving crumbs behind, because we know, the audience knows what's going down with her and her husband, that they are about to be stripped of everything. And this man was buying, I believe, like Picasso's, or he had bought some famous painting when they first came on. He was just buying stupid stuff. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, why did she stay? She had to have some inkling, like, what's going on with Bill Gates and his wife, with the whole Jeffrey Epstein stuff. You know, his wife is, you know, jumping ship, because it's really going to come out just how involved, allegedly, Bill Gates was with Jeffrey Epstein. And this is supposedly, he's owning up to that he knew him after he was convicted of the pedophile stuff. But I think I've seen where he knew him before that. But anyway, that's a whole nother video, maybe. And maybe not, who knows. Trying to keep it light and airy. But, so yeah. She says she's gonna tell him all about that later. So Rinna, let's see. Oh, and then Rinna punked out. Yeah, that was the other person. She didn't say nothing. She was like, I don't lie. I can't say. Please, Rinna, you're lying when you say you don't lie. Everybody, tells a little lie every now and then. So Kathy, to end the game, just as she said, she worked in a dental office. She did hospitality at the Waldorf, and she's a hairdresser. So Garcelle was like, wait a minute, those are all truths. And so they all had a good laugh, whatever. But nobody could believe that she actually did hospitality at the Waldorf, but she did. So as they round up the night and everything, Garcelle and Rinna go at it again. Garcelle wants a confirmation from Rinna, Lisa Rinna, that she's not going to do her like she did Denise Richards last season. And Rinna's like, I can't give you that confirmation. I can't confirm that for you. I can only say I will try not to do you dirty. But she was like, I can't do it. So Garcelle is like, well, I don't want to tell you something and have it thrown back in my face. And so Lisa's like, well, yeah, I can understand, what position you're in. So Garcelle is like, but really you don't, because it's like, well, then I can't have a deep conversation with you because you might use that against me. And Lisa was like, well, yeah, I can see how you can see that, but, I just want us to move forward. So Garcelle's like, well, I don't know if I can move forward with you if I can't really trust you, So anyway, they agreed to kind of have a detente on that, and just I think Garcelle is just going to handle her with a long spoon. And Rinna is fine with it because she just wants to move on. She's like, hey, that's last year. This is a whole new year. We done been through the COVID pandemic. Girl, let's just move forward. So then, while Garcelle and Rinna upstairs hashing it out, Kyle stays up with Crystal, and tells, asks Crystal, hey, make me another drink, because Crystal makes, I guess, a good margarita. And so Crystal's so happy that Kyle likes her margarita making. And so Sutton decides to stick around as well. So they get into, I think Kyle and Sutton starts talking about Garcelle, and Kyle's like, oh, I'm so glad, me and Garcelle hashed it out, and she told me what, she goes through as a black woman, blah, blah, blah. So Crystal's like, wait a minute, what happened? What went down? She's like, you guys didn't get along. She was like, well, at first we didn't. And then Sam was like, well, yes, you did. And so Kyle was like, no, we didn't. Remember, she was just going at me and I didn't understand it. And so then, Kyle tells Crystal about what happened with the auction money, how Garcelle didn't pay at first. We'll come to find out it was a mistake, and he cleared it up, and Garcelle did eventually pay. And so, Kyle told Crystal, she explained to me why that was so painful to her, because I didn't know that black people were accused of not paying for things, so it would look bad. So Crystal was like, yeah, those stereotypes really hurt people. And so Crystal started to go in about being Chinese and all the stereotypes she faced. Sutton didn't want to hear it. Sutton just shut her down, was like, no, we're not having this conversation. And, Crystal's like, no, you're not going to shut it down. I'm going to say my piece. And then Crystal just comes at Sutton with the hammer, and I wish I had said this in the beginning, but Crystal goes to Sutton at the jugular. She says, you know what? Please tell me you're not that girl. Please tell me you're not that I don't see color girl. And Sutton doubles down and says, yeah, I don't see color. But of course she starts crying, and she's like, what do you mean you don't see color? She's like, I see that you're white. I have black friends, I see everyone's color. I'm Chinese. You when you see me, you see an Asian woman. So, Sutton is on this, no, I don't see color. So they get into it, and then we're going to pick up on that in my review of episode 3. So thanks for hanging in there, and please hit the like button before you leave. See you in the next video. Bye.